In the hidden high walls of Pyongyang, an extraordinary enterprise quietly pursued what most rulers had dreamt of: cheating death. Some translate it as Institute for Longevity, but if we stick to its original meaning, it is actually an Institute for Eternal Life. That's right, the supreme leaders of North Korea want to achieve immortality and rule the kingdom forever and ever. In this episode, we track the story back to the beginning. How did a food science lab evolve into a triad of guarded secret facilities? And why did our dear leader, under the advice of the best cardiologists and nutritionists, die at a comparatively young age, just 70 years old? Before we start, you know that we're talking about top secrets, right? So be aware that there is no actual video footage of this institution circulating anywhere. Also, remember comrades, your support tells the algorithm to keep this series alive. Now take a breath. We are going to walk through the doors of a web of secret scientists who are not supposed to be known. Let's dig in.
Dr. Kim So-young was one of his personal physicians before defecting in 1992. For 10 years, she headed up a research centre Kim had ordered be set up to help him live to at least the age of 100. He made it to 82.
To be accurate, this Institute for Eternal Life is not one public organisation or university, but a top-secret research network under the Guard Command, devoted to keeping the Kim dynasty alive and well. It began under Kim Il-sung's rule in the 1970s. The Institute's origins lie in Kim Il-sung's growing obsession with longevity. According to a Soviet doctor invited to Pyongyang, Kim established a longevity research institute in the capital, staffed by military officers and always headed by someone at his side. Officially, it started as the Basic Science Institute, responsible for the supreme leader's food safety and nutrition. Reports from defectors and analysts say that this project consisted of 3 branch labs, the Basic Science Institute, and 2 research centers located in remote mountains, often called the Chongnam Mountain and Manchong Mountain Institutes. The 3 labs were dedicated to one single goal: to make the leader live forever. In North Korea, high-ranking officials referred to this effort as the security science, since the life of the leader is the paramount security concern. But in the shadow, this project was nicknamed the Institute for Eternal Life. Around 1982, the institute was massively upgraded. Kim Jong-il poured state resources into it, building new labs in the suburbs and importing millions of dollars of German and American research equipment. Just in a few years, there were multiple specialized centers, all reporting directly to the Guard Command. In effect, this apparatus became a parallel medical command for not just the food and nutrition of the palace, but the health and longevity concerns of the entire Kim family. It became a suite of labs tasked with concocting life extension cures for father and son alike.
The Korean people recollect in tears the tireless work of President Kim Il-sung, who traveled the whole country all his life to bring happiness to the people until he was well over 80 years of age.
The Institute's organization was kept extremely secret. Most North Koreans have only ever heard vague whispers of the Institute for Eternal Life, but never received any public information. Internally, scientists working there were called science warriors, and the operation was split among different sites. According to an intelligence report, the Chongnam Mountain branch fell under the Guard Command Unit 965 and focused on the Kim family's daily diet and health, staffed by about 200 high-level researchers as a military unit. It was structured into 4 departments and 3 independent research labs, outfitted with imported equipment from Germany and the United States. Equipment alone cost approximately $3 million, a massive investment at the time. Another lab at the Manchong Mountain reportedly managed food and health for the Kim entourage during official events, with roughly 70 experts on staff and a total of about 130 handy workers. The main Basic Science Academy, by far the largest, was said to employ hundreds or even thousands of specialists. Defector accounts claim as many as 1,800 people, including 700 senior researchers and numerous assistants, worked there on the leaders' health concerns and conducting foundational health research. In all, over 3,000 PhD-level scientists and support staff have been mentioned in various reports as part of this Immortality project. To put that in perspective, these figures match or exceed the staff of many of North Korea's national scientific institutes. Security around the labs was absolute. The compound is surrounded by tall cement walls, at least 2.5 meters high, and ringed with 24/7 armed guard command soldiers. Outsiders are barred from even knowing the precise locations. As one defector put it, the Cheongam Mountain branch is the most secret agency. Only top officials know it exists, and nobody outside can tell what goes on inside. The staff wore military uniforms for secrecy, and even personal aides of the Kims had to submit to tests by the institute's doctors. Leaking any biodata of the Kim family, let alone the supreme leaders, was equal to the death penalty. In short, these were core units of the regime, elite scientists, sworn to shield the great leader's health at the very heart of Pyongyang's power structure.
We did a lot of research at the Longevity Center, she tells me, but we only gave him the treatments he had chosen from our list of options. He wanted to rule as long as he could. I think he wanted to live a long life for his own satisfaction.
What exactly did these laboratories do? The work reportedly combined high-tech science with traditional remedies and outright weirdness. Much of their research centered on food and medicine. For example, teams developed luxury foods with optimal nutrition and taste. One lab had 8 subdivisions, creating tasty, nutritious alcohol and foods, breeding rare plants, fat-free meats, pesticide-free vegetables, and even tasteless fish oil for health. Another team ran a tobacco research lab, purely to design cigarettes low in nicotine and tar, to keep the chain-smoking leader from dying of lung cancer. These scientists even established special farms and greenhouses. In the name of longevity, they grew tropical fruits under controlled conditions and raised cattle or poultry to test high-quality meats for the leader. Local propaganda claims that North Korea is the cradle of eternal life, suggesting that the ruling Kims ought to live long because of their motherland's superb environment, never letting the ordinary folks learn about the hand-picked diet and health services enjoyed by the ruling clan. Beyond the basic food science, the Institute famously experimented with bizarre treatments to improve the leader's health. One defector biologist who worked there says the scientists were ordered to boost the leader's libido and longevity, so they concocted aphrodisiac pills using powdered gallstones or genitalia from lions and seals, mixed with secret herbal tonics. They were even asked to replicate Kim Il-sung's favourite Rothmans cigarettes, an embargoed Western brand, by smuggling in foreign tobacco and matching it to replicate the exact flavour. Nothing was too strange here. During the Great Famine, they still spent effort improving Kim Jong-il's beef tenderization, underlining their mandate to indulge the Kims at any cost. Defectors say all such formulas were first tested on surrogate subjects, usually volunteers or terminal patients of similar age and health as the leader, before ever being given to the Kims themselves. One North Korean doctor openly admitted that new treatments were checked on people akin to Kim Jong-il to gauge their effects. In some horror stories of the regime's opulence, he even claimed that for Kim Il-sung's crops, they buried dogs in the field as fertilizer to enrich the soil. A grim anecdote highlighting the lengths to which they went to seek any advantage.
A dramatic fireworks extravaganza in the North Korean capital Pyongyang marks the 99th birthday of the nation's founding leader, Kim Il-sung. 17 years after his death, the late leader remains North Korea's eternal president. His birthday, April 15th, is called the Day of the Sun and is still the nation's most important holiday.
Traditional medicine also had its place. The institute reportedly cultivated rare herbs and fungi, possibly collaborating with Chinese herbalists or Korean Oriental practitioners to find anti-aging potions. For instance, North Korea reveres wild herbs and mushrooms. Especially ginseng was perceived as a miraculous supplement to improve one's stamina and even achieve immortality. In total, his doctors compiled an encyclopedia of over 1,750 herbal remedies for longevity. Unofficial tales even surfaced of experiments in blood transfusions or youth exchanges. In the 1970s, Kim Il-sung allegedly ordered transfusions of young blood into himself. In its heyday, Kim Il-sung became a virtual vampire, receiving blood transfusions from healthy young men in the belief that the youth's vitality could be siphoned into his veins. He had so much fresh blood pumped in that his very blood type reportedly changed from AB to B. Yes, long before Brian Johnson made it trendy, Pyongyang may have been pumping peasant plasma into the veins of its aging monarch in the belief that youth was a valuable liquid. I am talking to you, Silicon Valley billionaires. If you want that secret recipe, forget about California. Go east to Pyongyang. Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il had pioneered this research topic for decades. But of course, changing to the young blood didn't help much. When that failed, insiders say doctors resorted to laughter therapy. It means simply keeping Kim Il-sung amused by funny movies or jokes on a daily schedule, under the theory that it would keep his heart and mind young. Reportedly, they even formed a comedy group just writing skits for the Red Sun. Not because he liked to laugh, but perhaps because someone had read some random articles on how humor boosts the immune system. It's uncertain if Kim Il-sung laughed. It is more certain than his subordinates expected him to do. Whether these stories are fact or folklore, they underline the sheer eccentricity of the Institute's mission. In North Korea's medical twilight zone, no rumor was too bizarre, as long as it held the faintest promise of adding another year to the leader's life.
On unforgettable July the 5th and the 6th, 1994, the president convened a consultative meeting of the senior officials of the economic sector.
In open societies and many former communist states, top leaders have also long enjoyed special medical privileges, such as the US president has the White House Medical Unit. So, what's the deal with this North Korean one? Well, other medical teams were meant to safeguard the government. The Institute of Eternal Life wants to turn politicians into deities. Think about it. A team of doctors travels with the US president. Emergency plans are drawn up for every trip, and no commander-in-chief is ever far from a top-tier hospital. The goal is simple: keep the leader alive and functional for the nation's sake, so that a sudden illness doesn't throw the country into chaos. The Soviets took a similar approach, albeit behind a veil of secrecy and privilege. The Kremlin's elite clinic, the Central Clinical Hospital of the 4th Department, was a world unto itself. It boasted the best doctors and equipment in the USSR, exclusively for the Politburo and high officials. The result? According to one chief physician, the average life expectancy of top Soviet bureaucrats treated there was 20 years higher than that of ordinary citizens. Leonid Brezhnev lingered in power despite strokes and ailments. In short, these elite medical units exist to preserve the stability of a country at the top. They were the guardians of continuity, not immortality. However, in Pyongyang, continuity wasn't enough. The goal must be eternity. And here comes the genius part. It's every biologist's dream to work with a controlled sample, minimal variables, isolated lineage, a single observable bloodline stretching across 3 generations. Most research facilities would kill for that kind of stability. But in Pyongyang, the Institute for Eternal Life had exactly that. One family, one gene pool, one holy bloodline. Since the founding of the regime, everything medical, biological, and genetic has orbited around the Kim family. Not just to keep them alive, but to understand them, decode them, preserve their divine traits. North Korea researchers are mapping out the optimal traits for ideological purity, charisma retention, and perhaps even divine posture. Don't be shocked if one day you hear that Kim Jong-un bred a gene-edited superson as his heir.
세기를 이어가며 승리 떨쳐온 우리 혁명은 더 한 분의 장군 최고 용도자를 맞이했습니다. 제3군혁명력을 빛나게 계승 완성해 나가시는 김정은 동지를 반만년 역사 후에 높이 모신 것은 우리 조국의
The Kim dynasty, unlike other nations where leaders come and go, has one core asset: biological continuity. Dynastic families in the free world may enjoy influence and name recognition, but they cannot commandeer an entire national research center to reverse engineer immortality from grandpa's DNA. Think about the Bushes in the US, the Trudeaus in Canada. No Western nation would pour its treasury into a Bush Institute of Eternal Life to keep a founding father on permanent life support. Voters would balk, and the gods of term limits and mortality have the final say. Moreover, it's the kind of centralized, single bloodline obsession that makes even other dictatorships look almost moderate. One could imagine Soviet rulers or Chinese communist elders shaking their heads at the sheer audacity. Why couldn't they lead their sons to inherit their family's political business?
군군의 장병들이 드리는 금별의 훈장이란가 오변광대한 하늘가에 큰 문자로 아로새기는 우리의 영영한 붉은 매들 하늘 초병들의 경례에 뜨겁게 담례하시며 태양과
Despite the Institute's alleged efforts, Kim Il-sung died of heart failure in 1994 at 82. And Kim Jong-il succumbed to a heart attack in 2011 at 70. Why did the spoiled son have a shorter life than the revolutionary father? The North Korean researchers might argue, immortality is more about performance than outcome. In the early 1980s, when the eternal president turned 70, he was hosting foreign dignitaries, writing books, holding mass parades, and most importantly, tightening his grip on a nuclear program that would outlive him. His face was bloated, yes, but he still towered over the party congress like an aging patriarch who would never leave the table. In fact, he looked healthier at 70 than his son did at 50. Kim Il-sung was a dictator with stamina. He worked long hours, delivered rambling speeches without teleprompters, and insisted on on-site inspections well into his 80s. The dear leader, however, was never known for charisma or stamina. In his final years, even those rare moments of theatrical flair were gone. He almost died from a stroke at 68 years old. The dear leader turned to become a man behind sunglasses, propped up by party handlers and medical staff who dared not speak the obvious. Perhaps the real secret to longevity is having a healthy lifestyle. The elder Kim understood the value of ritual and rhythm. Morning walks, on-site inspections, power naps and daily briefings. All these exercises kept his body warmed up. By the time he was 70, he had already outlived Stalin, Khrushchev and Mao, and he was still micromanaging dam projects. He drank moderately, smoked less than his son, and surrounded himself with doctors who could actually say no.
North Korea has bid a final farewell to the man it called its dear leader. For 3 hours, Kim Jong-il's funeral cortege headed through the snowy streets of Pyongyang, watched by tens of thousands of civilians and soldiers.
The younger Kim, by contrast, lived like an emperor in a bunker, gourmet excess, chain smoking, a revolving cast of entertainers and mistresses, and a bureaucratic echo chamber that hid his failing health from the world, and possibly from himself. Maybe, without the efforts of the Institute of Eternal Life, our dear leader might have died in his 50s or 60s, who knows. By the time Jong-il passed, the labs had already been training their sights on his son, Kim Jong-un. In fact, analysts say the institute simply carried on as before, now serving the new Supreme Leader. Reports after 2011 note that nothing has officially dissolved. The same labs and staff are presumed to be working to protect Kim Jong-un's health. One intelligence bulletin stated that all 3,000 scientists are now working for Kim Jong-un's longevity, focusing on the same diet, medicine, and specialty projects. Publicly, state media still paints the regime's image in immortal terms. The eternal president, Kim Il-sung, and eternal general, Kim Jong-il, appear on stamps and monuments. But any research to actually prolong Kim Jong-un's life remains secret. Some sources even claim the tobacco lab was instructed to develop new, low-tar cigarettes for Kim Jong-un to ward off his lung problems. All we really know is that the cult of health continues to be a threat in North Korea's power structure. Day by day, thousands of specialists in faceless labs analyze the family's meals and medicines, hoping to keep the dear leader alive just a little longer. It turns out that no one can cheat death. Not even the Supreme Leader can outrun a stopwatch. North Korea's Institute for Eternal Life was built to do the impossible. In the end, the immortals were buried, embalmed, and sealed in glass coffins, like rare artifacts in a museum of failure. Their palace had research labs, ginseng libraries, blood farms, and scientists working 18-hour shifts on a single body's behalf. But none of it mattered. Let's be honest, the real reason for this obsession wasn't medicine, it was fear. The regime feared the political vacuum, the chaos, the loss of the God figure at the top, and the control of its populace. In a system built entirely around a single man, his death isn't just a biological failure, it's a national collapse. So they tried to hack biology, delay the inevitable, create the illusion that the throne was eternal. The story of North Korea's Institute for Eternal Life is as chilling as it is bizarre. It reveals a regime so obsessed with the cult of its leaders that it funneled tremendous resources into a kind of immortal shrine, even as ordinary Koreans suffered famine and repression just outside the palace gates. Both Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il died before reaching the century mark, and whether Kim Jong-un survives longer remains to be seen. In a grim twist, the institute itself is almost eternal, surviving from one man's reign to the next, quietly consuming national wealth. It stands now as a monument to the regime's grandest delusion, that death can be commanded by authority as easily as any other national policy. And perhaps the most striking lesson is this: no matter how many labs you build or how many experts you hire, the Death Lord will finally come to knock on your door. The destined failure of the Institute for Eternal Life reveals a hard truth. In pursuit of immortality, the regime could neither save itself nor those it rules. Nothing lasts forever.
한생토록